Hey, job seekers, Melanie here. Okay, it's time to talk about those resumes in 2024. Now, if it's been a minute since you've gone back and taken a look at your resume and seen what changes you maybe should need to do, this video is going to help you. And we're going to be covering a lot of things. I will try to go as quick as I can, but I do want to make sure you get all of this data. Please try to watch to the end. I know your time is valuable, but I'm trying to give you tidbits as to the best way for you to get chosen from your resume to actually interview for the job. Remember, your resume is just a marketing device. All we're trying to do is get you in so somebody will actually give you an interview so you can show them everything that's amazing about you and land that job. So here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to cover the changes. There's a good news in 2024 for you on resumes. We're going to cover some bad things that are being shared by others of you now need to go to this resume. You now need to do this. I'm going to tell you why it's a no and why you absolutely should not do it. And it will actually hurt your chances of getting seen. We're also going to talk, I'm going to show you a resume template that we have tested. We've worked it through job applicant tracking systems. We've done it with HR people. And so we want to make sure that we share that template with you. And at the end of this video, if you want to get a copy of that template, it's free for everybody. All you have to do is put a comment on the video saying you want a copy, and we will get with you and get you that copy for free. The only thing I ask is don't sell it to anybody. The whole intention is for it to be free. I don't like it when then people try to use it and then sell it for something else. So we will get you all of that information and data. So let's jump right in. So great news for 2024 for you. I've been keeping my eye on the different applicant tracking systems, and I continually go in and apply as people to different roles, testing different things as to how they work, as well as the applicant tracking systems that I get to see behind the scenes and how I can test the resumes and see what works and doesn't work. They're getting so good. Those applicant tracking systems are getting really good. And I know you're thinking, well, they're getting good at ruling me out. No, they're actually getting good at reading all of your data. It used to be very much about what you had on your resume under your education was parsed into the education field of the different applicant tracking systems. And so this data had to match this field. It would have to go in that field. And then the only thing that recruiters companies could search on was the data that was actually in those specified fields. And that's not true anymore. For all of the major and for most of the minor applicant tracking systems, what they do now is it reads your entire resume. And that is a brilliant thing. So no more worries about it parsing into this field and parsing into that field. Now, when you're trying to apply for a position, you are going to still get frustrated with some of the applicant tracking because there's some data they're trying to make sure that they've parsed right, but it's more about background check data. Things like how many years you were with a certain company. You worked at this company from this year to this year. But all of that other data, and especially things like your summary section, there was not a section for it to parse over in a lot of the different applicant tracking systems. No more. Now what happens is they read the entire resume through. So even if you have it in some section called something different, it doesn't matter. I, as a recruiter, as an HR person, can still go in, enter in search parameters, and it will pull data from anywhere on your resume. And this is true whether it's a Word document or a PDF. So I know there's a lot of people saying, don't do a PDF, don't do a Word document. It's like clickbait for both sides of the angle. Here's what I'm going to tell you that I am seeing in the applicant tracking systems. It works either way. The only thing that I see that tends to trip up with a PDF, some of the applicant tracking systems, is if if the words that you're using a crazy font that it's just crazy hard for even a person to read, or if you change the direction of your text. What I mean by that is instead of putting it horizontally, you decide to write something vertically. I don't know why people do that, but sometimes people feel like they have to do something special for their resume. Please don't do that. Please don't do that, right? You want to make your resume easy for the applicant tracking system to read, but more importantly, easy for the person to read. Remember, you have two people you're trying to satisfy or two audiences every time you have your resume. One is those applicant tracking systems, which are most likely going to see your resume first, but they're going to read everything on it. Once you get past the applicant tracking system, because you come up in the searches, then the second one is the actual person. Now, the question always gets answered or asked, do people, every single resume that comes in that applies against a job get seen? Does some person actually look at it? Not always. Some people can say, oh, yes, I look at everyone. Yeah, I'm going to say not always. It depends on the amount of applicants that actually come in for a position. If there's 2,000 resumes, they may only look at the first 100. If they find 8 really great candidates they want to interview, they may stop and pause there so you never get seen. But your resume is at least loaded in the applicant tracking system, so if they search later, you still would come up. Okay, let's talk about now the actual format of the resume. And remember, you got to format it for the applicant tracking system, which is a lot easier, and the person. There's a couple resumes that people are now, I've seen a lot of different options that are saying, you need to do this, you need to do this. And I'm going to tell you no. I'm going to show you these resumes and tell you why they are bad. Let's take a look at the first one of these. Let me go ahead and share my screen so you can see this. So this first resume, some people are still talking about you need to put a picture on your resume. And if you are in the US, do not put a picture on your resume. We're trying to avoid anybody doing any kind of discrimination based on pictures. This is why even in LinkedIn recruiters and companies have the option to turn off your picture so it doesn't show when they're searching and looking, because they're trying to stay in alignment with all of the EEO laws and to make sure that they're looking at the skills and experience and nothing else, taking out any kind of bias. Okay, let's talk about other things of why this resume is not good. This is what we would call a non-standard format resume. Excuse me. So in this, it has this profile section over here, and then it has the education and work experience over here. The chances of this area over here getting seen by a person, this area right here where it's got all this other data, is small. And here's why. The recruiter, the company, they are going to look at gates. And what is a gate? It's things like, okay, the hiring manager has required a bachelor's degree. Let me look first, see, do they have a bachelor's degree? This is a professional engineer role. I'm requiring somebody with a PE. They have to have a PE in order to sign off on drawings. They're going to go to that section to see if that person has a PE. Excuse me. They're looking at different gates. They're looking at different ways to rule you in or out. And summaries that talk about competency stuff are not what's important in the beginning of this process. Now it's going to switch, but in the beginning of this process on the resume, that is not what is important. What is important is getting through the gates and them understanding you as a candidate. So they are going to look at, of course, your areas over here. We have your work experience and stuff. They are never, I've seen so many resumes and so many career coaches saying, oh, you have to have a skills section like this one here does, where you have these bars. Do not do this. This is completely useless data, and it takes up so much room on your resume. How do I know what 75% is or what this percentage is? It's completely useless. It is much better for you to instead say, I have SolidWorks, and just put it on there as a skill. Don't tell them, well, I only have 50% SolidWorks. Then they may say, oh, well, that's not enough. That's not what I want them to do. I want them to say, oh, she's got SolidWorks. Great. I'm going to give her a call to talk with her. Once you're on the phone with somebody, once you're on a Teams call, once you're a video, whatever, then you have the chance to sell yourself, to sell your skills and everything else that's great about you. So don't give them that percentages to be able to rule you out. Just put the skill. It's enough. Then make them do some work on their side to find out more about you. So there are some other things on this resume that are just a no. And one of those is going to be down here on the left. You see this area that says hobbies. Please do not put hobbies on your resume. Let me say that again. Please do not put hobbies on your resume. This is a precious piece of real estate. You're trying to show your skills and experience. Could there be a time for you to talk about your hobbies? Yeah, but that's during an interview. Maybe if they say, well, what else do you like to do for fun? Or what is something that, gets you really excited about? Whatever. And if you want to share a hobby then, go for it. Fine. But don't share it on your resume. It's not going to get you from a system or a person looking at it into that interview. Take it off, period. Okay, let's look at the second resume that people are talking about that, again, not a great resume. Let me pull that one up for you. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, here we go. Let's take a little closer look. Okay, This one, Mira Carlson, with this title and stuff, please do not put a QR code on your resume. Holy cow, you want to drive me insane? I'm at my computer, I'm going through stuff, I'm looking at things, and then you want me to scan a QR code with my phone, which is more than likely a personal phone, to be able to get to some information about you. Don't do that. Don't do it. QR codes have no place on a resume. And anybody else who wants to talk about it and say, oh, yes, they do, I say no. Not to mention the fact that I wish I could say that all resumes we get are appropriate. They're not. People send, viruses and inappropriate stuff in that's a resume. I don't want to be scanning some QR code, not knowing what it's going to take me to or what's going to pop up when I take it. So QR codes, huge no on the resume process. If you want to show somebody that you're technically savvy, put, familiar with QR codes, I don't care, something else, but do not put a QR code on your resume. And while we're talking about this, you do need to nowadays have a link to your LinkedIn profile on your resume. And you can see on this one has check out my LinkedIn profile and has the LinkedIn address. Here's what I see a lot of people doing nowadays that I don't want you to do. And that is they shorten that down and just put a hyperlink to their LinkedIn profile. If you do that and your data loads into my system, any of the applicant tracking systems that I utilize, it disables hyperlinks. It's a security measure. It's trying to, have people not go to sites that are not, get caught in things. So it disables hyperlinks. And now in order to get to your LinkedIn profile, I got to go find you on LinkedIn. Make yourself easy. Do not use hyperlinks in any way, shape, or form on your resume. Give me the URL. So then if I decide I want to go out and look at it, I can copy it and paste it into a browser. Do not use hyperlinks. Okay, let's take a look just a little bit more at this resume. Excuse me. Okay, so I know there's not a lot of stuff entered into here, but I do want to show you again, it's doing the same type of thing. See the skills section, see the personal section. It's not helping you get a job. It's just not. So saying all that, what do I recommend you use instead? Let's look at a resume format template. And this is one that we've used for the past several years. We tweak it a little bit every year based on feedback, and what we see is entering good into the applicant tracking systems into what's not. So we test this thing continuously, but here is the latest and greatest final resume format that we do recommend for you. And so is it flashy? Does it have lots of graphics and things like that? It absolutely does not. Now, the only time you should have those type of things is if you are a graphic design person. Then you're going to want to have two resumes. You're going to have one that's like this, that's going to load easily into the systems, be easy for that first recruiter to find the information and data for you. And then you're going to want to have a second one that's part of your portfolio that shows your great design skills. Other than that, I'm telling you, simple is better. You have recruiters looking at hundreds of resumes a day. I am not joking, hundreds and hundreds of resumes a day. If they are flipping through resumes quick, there's even a mode on some of the systems called Flip View to help the recruiters look at the resumes faster. You don't want to slow things down by them trying to find your data and risk them just flipping past you. Okay, let's look at some of the other details of this resume. Let me make it a little bit bigger for you. Okay, so at the top of the resume, do you see how this one's created for an HR professional? Do you see how it says human resources professional right here at the top? The reason that we do that is we're trying to make it so very clearly we're classifying you in as the role. This is something very easy for you to change when you apply for one position versus another. Most of you are able to do more than one thing in your career. You may be an HR professional, but you may have a specialty in benefits and also a specialty in training and development. By having this section at the top and bolding it, you're able to really easy classify in for the person looking at your resume what you are. And you better tie that to the job that you're applying for. So in this case, it's something easy to just adjust that and nothing else on your resume. I don't want you changing your entire resume every time you apply. You just can't do that. It's not a value add. So we're going to show you just little things to adjust that will help you get picked from resume into interview. Okay, let's move down and look at some of the other parts of the resume. So after we have this summary section, now I know most people are not going to read this whole section. We're using it for keywords. We're using it for keywords to hope that the applicant tracking system that does read everything will pull you up if somebody does a search. That is also why we do this section right here. Now, remember, when you have, and don't worry about the table works just fine. I haven't had a single applicant tracking system choke on it. Okay, but why do we do this skills section at the top? Here's the deal. The way that recruiters look at resumes is they scan. There's been multiple studies, go out, Google it, that shows you how they look at a resume. They're not reading it like a book. They're looking for key things, especially that first level recruiter talent acquisition person that's looking at your resume. They're trying to understand you, see who you are, and they're going to look at certain gates. This skill section, it gives you a great opportunity to say, okay, you're looking for somebody with this, this, and this, and putting those three things from the job description in this skills section to highlight that you have it. And that way they very quickly at the beginning of your resume see that. And once they see it, you have a better chance of getting that phone call, which is what I want to have happen to you. Okay, let's keep going down. I'm really quickly going to mention this. If you've seen our past resume videos, you need really small margins on a resume. I know it sounds counterintuitive. You need really small margins because there was a study done by CareerBuilder years ago. If you don't, the eye is naturally drawn to the white space, and we're trying to keep them on your text. So just trust me on this. If you want more details, let me know, and I'll show you that actual study that was done by CareerBuilder where we learned smaller margins are better on a resume. Okay, here is one of the other things very, very important on your resume. Do you see this first job we called it first company? Do you see this line underneath it? This is a line that tells them about the company that you're working for. Now, the intention of the reason that we want to do this is because we're trying to get industry words that it sometimes can be really, really hard to include in a bullet, but we want to give them some context. If you created a benefit plan for one company and that company only had 50 employees versus if you created a benefit plan for a company that had 50,000 employees in 28 countries, that is a completely different thing. Well, not every recruiter and every person knows every company. You may know the ones you worked for. It doesn't mean that they do. They may not know what industry it is, what their global reach is, how many employees they have, anything like that that's important. And that line on the resume is where you have the opportunity to create that. So in this one, it's a global manufacturer of renewable parts and equipment for aviation and aerospace industries. It might be hard to get in a bullet, aviation and aerospace industries. It might be hard to get in that they're a global company. That is where you can add that data. Okay, let's go down. You do have this template in here. You can just request it by the comments and we will send it to you. We did still include a place for a gap on your resume. A lot of you have gaps from COVID. Let me say flat out, it is not your fault that you have a gap from COVID. That being said, one of the first things I still hear from almost every hiring manager we deal with is, I do not want job hoppers. I want somebody who's going to stay. Do they all need to get a dose of reality and realize that people are getting laid off just because that's the nature of the economy nowadays? People need to give job hoppers a break. That's not their choice to leave. But instead of investigating it in, if you have multiple things, they just rule you out as a job hopper. Okay, so because of that, anytime you have a gap or something like that, we want to explain that situation. So we did still include on this template for you a place to explain if you have a COVID gap. You can use this for other gaps, like a career break gap that you took for some other reason. The important thing that you're trying to tell a future employer about a career gap is how you kept your skills up to date. Frankly, it's really nobody's business as to why you took a gap. If you had to go care for a sick relative, if you just decided to travel for a year, that's your business and you should be able to do what you want to do. But companies want to know that you didn't get stale in your skills. So when you have a larger gap on your resume, by putting data out there like what we did here, Do you see how even though this person was actively seeking during COVID, we talked about some of the training that the person did. We talked about some of the industry events that they did. It is a great way for you to be able to tell them still how you're accomplishing things in your career. Okay, I do want to cover just a couple other things quick. One thing that I am asked a lot about is, or I see a lot, is people have had 3 and 4 jobs in the same company. And what they do on their resume is they put the dates 3 and 4 times for each one. And it looks very choppy. And not only does it look choppy, but then when you load into the applicant tracking system, it tries to load them all as separate dates. There is a better way to handle this. Here's how I recommend you do it. If you look down here at this job that is from, let me get down to it. This one right here. It's a long group of tenure, July 95 to 2000. This person was there, right, for a good 5 years, but they held 2 jobs during that time frame. I didn't put dates on the 2 jobs that they held. I didn't put dates showing that this one they were in for a year, this one they were in for 2 years. Not that it matters one way or another what those dates are. Like you only spent a year in this one, then you went 4. It's the matter of I want them to focus on, hey, this person was 5 years with this company. Again, I'm trying to fight them saying job hopper, job hopper, job hopper. I want them to see that you are committed and you do have tenure for companies that are worthy of your tenure. Okay, let's go down a little bit further, almost to the end. So when we get to the bottom, education, certifications, highlighted training, you do not have to put every single training that you did. Please do not include 8 pages of training on this. It does not belong on your resume. It does belong on your LinkedIn profile. You can have your LinkedIn profile as long as you want. Put every single bit of training you did out on your LinkedIn profile. Just don't give me 10 pages of attachments on your resume. Nobody's going to read it. Nobody's going to see it. Don't want it. Okay. And then I do highly recommend at this point in time, you put additional technical skills on your resume. Now, why do we recommend you do that? Because software is something that is continually used as a knockout. So people will say, I want somebody who has experience with Oracle. If they don't have Oracle, I need somebody with Oracle. If they don't have Oracle experience, I don't even want to see their resume. So a lot of times the softwares are used for a way to knock candidates in and out, both in searches and just when they're looking at resumes. So you do want to have a section at the bottom where you list absolutely every single technical skill software that you have that you can put on that's valuable to the roles that you're applying for. If you don't have one, like let's say I didn't have experience in Oracle, but I was a lot in SAP, you can still go out, watch 4 YouTube videos, get yourself familiar enough with it to the point where you feel like you can put that on there, and then have a conversation during an interview where you've gotten to actually talk with somebody to say, well, I've used SAP a lot and Oracle. I've started my training. Here's the similarities. Here's how we do this in there and this in here. And that way, hopefully they're already attached to you. They already want you as a candidate because they've met you and seen what a great person you are with everything else. Okay, so we covered the bad resumes. We covered the changes. I know this was really fast, but I'm trying to get you the data as quick as we can. If you have questions, put it in the comments down below. We do try to read and reply to every single one that we possibly can. If you want a copy of this resume template, happy to do it. Just go out and put a comment down on this saying, please send me the resume template. One of our team will get back in touch with you to get it to you via email. So it is available for anybody that wants it. We have a bunch of new videos coming out. If there's something you'd like to see, let me know. Make sure you subscribe to all of our different channels. We're doing our best to help job seekers. If there's something else that we can do, please let us know and we will do our best. As always, thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.